Oh, hello, Linda. Thank you so much
Hi.
for joining me here from, is it sunny in Boston at the moment, or is it?
Yeah, it is. It's very sunny. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, quite wild outside. Actually, we had a big storm last night. But yeah, I'm just a little bit north of Boston.
Massachusetts? Because we've got a Boston in the UK as well. It's a slightly different place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the coast in Lincolnshire.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so just make sure people know you're in America. So, Linda, can you just tell anybody who's listening just a little bit about yourself and your book, please?
Sure. Yeah. I am a certified master coach. I've been coaching now for, gosh, I think it's just a little over a decade. It's hard to believe. So I refer to myself as a coach, a writer, and a teacher, an instructor. And I go in and out of those all the time. So, because they're very, very distinct. Um, I co-wrote a book. This is my first book called Women in Confidence. The truth about the lies we tell ourselves. I co-wrote this with Lana Bastianuti, who is another coach who I work with on programs. And a lot of my work in the coaching and teaching world is we do a lot of programs, online programs that we put together, which we enjoy a lot. So, but we focus primarily in this area of women and confidence. That's the big umbrella that we work under, and that can come in the you know we can address women and confidence at work, and also in their relationships. So we kind of go in and out of those two areas of women's lives.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
And so what I'd really like to focus on for this conversation is the writing bit.
Yes, of course.
And
Yeah.
I heard you say this is my first book. So does that mean you have another one coming?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I've set myself up there, haven't I? Yeah, of course. I hope so. I'd actually like to do a book on women and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually working on a program right now for women and relationships. So, yeah, I think it's going to lead into another book.
Lovely. Okay. So can you tell me then, first of all, how did you get into writing? How did you start writing in the first place? Is it something you've always done, or is it something new for you?
Well, as a kid, I did a lot of essays at school. I was really good. And, I remember I've kind of forgotten about this, Maria, but when I was 10 years old, I won an essay competition. And I had to go to the Birmingham Town Hall in England and pick my prize from the Duke of Edinburgh, which is the Queen's husband, for those in
Oh.
America who don't know. So I got a prize for writing an essay. That was my first, so I was always writing essays as a kid. And somehow or other, the teachers thought I did them really well. But then I didn't really do any kind of real creative writing. I as an undergraduate and as a graduate student, I majored in English. And so I did a lot of reading and writing. I was really specializing in my graduate work on 19th century literature.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything about 19th century literature, books are really quite fat. Dickens, George Eliot, so lots and lots of reading and academic writing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I actually didn't really start writing until I became a coach, which was about 15 years ago. And I got my coach training from a woman called Martha Beck, who I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she's actually a New York Times best-selling author. She's one of the best self-help writers out there. If you want to she wrote a famous book called Finding Your Own North Star. It's one of the best self-help books that I've ever read. And when I got my coach training from her, there was a whole unit of coach training where she actually taught us how to write self-help. So she was kind of like a writing mentor for me for many years. So yeah, I started writing self-help, which is what I do. I don't write fiction or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it really came about from wanting to tell my own personal stories about how I had got myself out of a lot of unhappy situations in life, a lot of unhappy relationships and marriages. I'm on my third marriage now, third time lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really felt like I'd had a lot of life experience, and I wanted to really share that with women through telling my own story. And so that's the kind of writing that I do now, which is really what the book is. The book is full of story.
Yeah.
Um, I can't write unless I'm telling stories. I mean, you'll never get me to write about how the mind works or any kind of conceptual thing. I have to include story with it, explain how it works. That's just how I roll.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have no interest.
Okay.
So that's kind of like my journey. But I would also say, Maria, that part of that, for so many years that I didn't write, what I was doing was doing a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel that if you want to become, this is my own personal thing, if you want to become a good writer, you have to enjoy reading, you have to be a reader.
Mm-hmm.
And so for all those years, you know, all those Victorian novelists, I read so much. And I think it just got to the point where I kind of consumed a lot, and there was just a need for me to put something out, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know if you had that experience. It's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, you can kind of overread, but then there comes that day, it's like, well, what do you have to say? You know, and so for me, it was years of like stuffing myself with a big box of cookies until I was so stuffed that I just felt like I've got to say something myself, you know? So that's kind of like my journey.
Yeah. It sounds like, because so many people that I talk to who want to write a book, it's not a logical thing, is it? It's like there's something within us that it's like a compulsion. There's this
Calling.
has
Yeah,
to make its way out through us. It's like it's almost like we haven't got any say in the matter.
exactly. Yeah. Because I remember Martha Beck, my coach trainer again, saying to the other coaches who were taking her course, a lot of the other coaches were saying, oh, I'm really, terrified of writing. I don't know if I have a lot to say. And I remember Martha saying to me, well, how about you, Linda? Do you feel that way? And for me, it was just so clear. I have so much that I want to share that I don't know where to start, you know? So yeah, it does. It feels like a calling.
Yeah. So how did this book come about with Lana then?
Yeah, well, throughout my coaching years, I had met so many women who were so smart and together and, educated um, and yet through all of that, they just felt so insecure.
Mm-hmm.
They lacked confidence. And I thought, what's going on here? Why is it that women are always just kind of holding themselves back and playing small in their work and so insecure in their relationships? And yet they were so brilliant. These women are clearly very together, very qualified, capable. And I thought, well, there's something going on here. What is it? And so that really intrigued me because I'd met so many women like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized that I was actually one of them too, in my own work. And actually, Lana feels the same way as well. It's like, yeah, we're doing our work, we're doing our coaching, but there was also a part of me that was holding myself back. It's kind of like I had the handbrake on in life. I was moving, but I wasn't moving very quickly or not with a lot of ease because of my insecurity. So it came out of my own life experience that I felt like I knew this subject really well, and I knew I could write something and really help other women.
Mm. So tell me about your writing process. What does that look like?
Well, for the book, it's very different when I was writing for the book than when I write just my blogs, right? So for the book, it took discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had to get out of the house and go to the library just before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just go to the library for 2 hours. I give myself 2 hours every day of very focused, intense concentration on the book because I knew I was there and there's nothing else I could do at the library, really. I mean, I was just there in the cubicle and I would just discipline myself. So that's what I would do. But in saying that, there were also days where it just, like I said, I can't write just to share ideas and concepts. I've got to feel it. I've just got to have the feeling. The feeling's got to be there when I'm writing it, especially when you're telling a story. And so some days that wasn't there,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to kind of like just go for a walk or back off from it for a bit. Sometimes I have to do that.
Yeah.
But I've always, there's discipline, yes, but there's also this feeling that's got to be. I don't know if that explains it. It's just, I've just got to feel the energy of it,
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I want to say is, and I think this is process, this falls under that category. And I've learned the hard way on this, is that when I get an idea for something that I want to share in a story or a blog, I have to write it down, make a note of it right away, or it's gone. I lose it. You ever had that? You
Yeah.
lose ideas?
Yeah.
Like in the moment, you think, oh, that's a great idea. And then the next day, it's like, what was that? And it's so annoying. So I've really learned, and I consider that process. It's like capturing ideas,
Yeah.
And I actually remember a wonderful interview I heard with singer Neil Young, who said that when he was writing songs, he'd get an idea for a song, and if he didn't write it down right away, it would be lost sometimes. And he kind of decided that he would always honor that download,
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard that interview, I thought, yeah, I'm going to practice honoring the fact that some idea has kind of landed on me, and who knows where they come from. Sometimes, I don't know, it's just like something that just comes to you, and if you don't act on it or you don't make note of it, then it's kind of like dishonoring that. It's that creative force, it's that tap on the shoulder. And so that's part of my process too, is to make sure I capture those moments, those ideas. Otherwise, nothing gets done.
Yeah. So you said something about when you're writing a book, your process is different to your daily writing or your blog writing.
Yeah. I write a blog once a week, and usually the idea for that comes from, I don't know, just remembering something in my life that happened to me, to do with relationships, say. Or I could be watching something on the television and I thought, that's a really great metaphor, So I'll just kind of go about my day throughout the week, looking for those little seeds of inspiration of how I can put something together. And usually writing a blog it usually comes pretty easy to me. It never used to, but it does now, especially after coming to this understanding of the principles. I find that my creativity is just through the roof right now. I don't know if you've had that experience, Maria, but it's like I've learned how to relax more with it, and take. Also, my other process is I always make sure every day I go out for a walk in nature. No headphones, no earpods, not listening to anything, right? Just to kind of calm everything down. And then that's where I get a lot of ideas and my mind goes down. And I never used that, so now I'm doing that. I've learned how to do that, I'm finding that my creativity is just really increased a
Yeah.
lot.
It's amazing how many writers and authors will talk about something like that. You don't. I like what you said about you didn't know. You don't. Wasn't sure if this was classed as part of the writing process, but it clearly is part of
It
it.
is.
Because without
Yeah,
it, something else can't happen.
exactly. Yeah, I see this process because it's gathering information.
Mm,
You know, it's capturing information and ideas.
yeah.
Like this morning, there's a house being built around here. This is an example, okay? Good practical example. There's a house next door to me being built, and they're taking forever putting down the foundation, right? It's taking months, and I said to the construction guys, what's keeping, you know, what's holding it up? And the guy said, oh well, because we're on the coast here, there's a lot of water problems. We have to get it right. We have to get that foundation right.
Mm.
Otherwise, you could build a beautiful house on it, and the whole thing will crumble. Right? And I thought, metaphor. That's a perfect metaphor for a program I'm working on right now about women preparing themselves for a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you can be all shiny and beautiful like the house, right?
Yeah.
But if your foundation is not solid and you don't have confidence, you don't know who you are, the whole thing can crumble.
Yeah.
So that's an example of just being out in nature, your everyday life, looking at things and looking for metaphors, not deliberately, but that they just kind of happen, you know?
Yeah.
So
Kind of noticing them when they do happen, because they're there all
yes.
the time, aren't they?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just, it's whether you spot them or not.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about editing? Is that a feature of your writing, or does it all come out perfectly for you?
Oh yeah. um, no, well, when I'm writing my first, I'm a big drafter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the magic lies in drafting. So, but when I'm writing, I don't edit myself.
Mm-hmm.
I do, as Anne Lamott said, that first shitty draft, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like capturing everything, not worrying about the grammar, and then just kind of then going back. Because if you get, well, I do, if I get bogged down with that, I kind of lose that creative flow.
Mm.
So yeah, just, and then obviously with the book, we got a professional editor to go over the book, and boy, that was amazing to see what somebody, you think you have a good product until you send it to an editor. She makes you look lovely and shiny, you know. So that our editor was Ali Duffy. I don't know if you know Ali Duffy.
I do, yes, I know Ali,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's a brilliant editor.
Mm-hmm.
And so she did the editing for our book, and she made me sound and look very good and honest. So yeah, so editing, that kind of editing, definitely. But drafting is I think that's where the magic is, because I used to teach writing in college for 10 years, and you know, I have so many cases where students, they'd be writing something, a couple of pages, and then it was only at the very last paragraph where they actually started to tap into something magical,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
They would hate it when I would say, oh, you see that last paragraph? That's really what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And it took 2 pages to get to that place,
Yeah.
right? So you have to be, you know, appreciate drafting for what it is, where you can take something at the very bottom, scrap all the rest, and start again, you know? So I drafting is really where it's at for me.
Yeah. I love what you're saying there, because no matter what I'm writing, whether it's a blog, whether it's something for the book, or something even just because I write every day,
Yeah.
and I'm in writing classes as well, so I'm writing for my writing classes, and I always know that, like, at least the first paragraph is just me settling in, and it's
Yes.
usually further down the page before anything really,
Exactly.
really juicy starts to turn up. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's how you make meaning, isn't it? It's just you get your thoughts out and you think it's not a linear process. That's the thing, you know. Just kind of get them all out on the page. And it's that process of writing that's just like you finally latch onto something juicy that you want to say.
Yeah.
And then start again.
Okay, so you said earlier about the women, the brilliant women, they all look, you know, they're really good at what they do. They seem to have the confidence, and yet behind was the insecurities. So I'm really interested in, because you said that you were one of those people. So I'm guessing that while you were writing your book, you had these kind of insecure thoughts, the gremlins, that kind of thing. So
Oh
what?
yeah, the gremlins.
Yeah. So what for you while you're writing the book were your gremlins, your insecurities, and how did you manage to get past those in order to be able to get your book published?
Yeah, gremlins are there for everyone.
Mm.
There's no one who doesn't have their own personal gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
And my gremlins came in they would tell me, why bother? These are the phrases I'd hear. It's all been said and done before. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing unique about what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd hear those voices.
Mm-hmm.
And because I know what they are, like years ago in college, I would have just been I was so self-conscious about my writing and everything, and no confidence at all, that I would really just listen to them and take take their advice. But now I understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just that mind chatter. I just say, okay, you know, I hear you. Thanks for telling me, but I'm going to do it anyway,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I say. I have that little mantra. Um, you know, have you heard that wonderful? There's a wonderful interview. Do you know the guy? This I don't know in England if you know this guy, Ira Glass. He's a journalist. Okay, I'll send you this video because I think you'd appreciate it, Maria. There's a wonderful video. He's a radio journalist, and he put out this amazing video on YouTube where he talks about when you're first starting out as a new creator, like writing or whatever it is you're doing, you kind of know how you want to sound, right? Like because you've read so much good writing and you have your heroes, you know how you have really good taste, but you're also painfully aware that you're not that
Yeah.
yet,
Yeah.
right? So there's this gap between your taste of how you want to sound and where you are.
Yeah.
And every creative person, whether you're writing or painting or whatever it is you're doing, goes through that phase, and they hear the gremlins, and the natural tendency is to want to kind of back off and kind of not play anymore,
Mm.
you know, because we're not there, right? We're painfully aware that we're not where we want to be in
Yeah.
terms of, you know, our taste.
I think.
And so it's important to know that that goes on for everyone.
Yeah. I think how I see that is that each and every one of us has our own voice, and we read the great writers. You know, I love Dickens, and I'm just about to start. Did you mention Virginia Woolf? I'm just about to start on
Oh yeah,
because I've never read hers, but I'm getting more interested in the classics because I really want to see really great writing. And you read a really great writer, and you think, oh my God, I wish I could write
sound like
that.
that. Yeah, yeah.
But what every writer has is their own unique voice. And what I know is true from listening to lots of different people is that everybody thinks their own voice is so boring. And yet it's actually the thing that is most interesting. And so, you know, I can listen or hear or read other people's work and think, oh my God. And I've kind of got used to this now, where I would have thought I would love to be able to write like that. But now I know that I write like me.
Yeah.
And you can draw on elements, like you can see how other people write, and you think, oh yeah, I like the way he does that, and I like the way she does that, and you can incorporate things like that in your writing. But it's most interesting when it's just your unique voice.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there, Maria. Yeah, it's so true. But you know, I was raised, um, and I was kind of, I don't know where I got this narrative from. I don't know where I got this thought from, but I kind of thought that everybody else had talent except me. And you know, and I think a lot of us we're kind of brought up to feel like, oh, other people are the talented, creative ones, but we're not, you know. And we kind of buy into that narrative that some people have it and some people don't.
Yeah.
And it's really a question of we haven't given ourselves the opportunity to discover that voice.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
haven't allowed it to come out.
No.
I'm going to quote another celebrity, Carlos Santana, the guitarist, right?
Yeah.
There's a wonderful video of him, or a wonderful video where he was learning to play guitar. And he said when he first started, he was just awful. And he just, again, he knew what he liked, right? He had his favorites. And he just kept, you know, playing around. And then he said at one point, he just had to stop playing their music and discover his own sound. Now, talk about someone who has their own distinct sound, is Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
You just hear a few chords and you know, that's Carlos, right? So he said you get to the point where it's great to really try and imitate your heroes. Everybody does it. It's natural, right? You want to copy, imitate. There comes a time in life where you've just got to kind of put it all in a blender. This is what he says, put it all in a blender, mix it up, and then throw your bit in. And you just have to keep practicing and keep doing your craft till you get to that point where you can read something or play something and say, oh, that's me, right? That's me. I can recognize my writing or my voice. It was a beautiful, beautiful way he put it. But I think a lot of us, Maria, we don't give ourselves that opportunity to do that because we've got this thing going like, oh no, that's for somebody else. That's not me.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So one last question then. What if you were going to give one tip or one piece of advice to somebody who's fairly early on in the journey now, they think they want to write a book or they're just starting out writing a book, what would you say to them?
Well, it has to do with keep going to discover your voice, you know, just don't be doing it writing to think, oh, I'm going to get fame or I'm going to, you know, be recognized for what I'm writing. Do it for the pure joy of expressing yourself and having your own voice there. Just stay in that place and just keep doing it. That's really, you know, you'll hear the gremlins, but do it for the joy of it. And your voice will come. It really will. Yeah, that's what I would say to anyone new who's just, you know, don't be intimidated. It's okay to copy and imitate, but just kind of give yourself that time also to bring out your own point of view.
Lovely. Oh, that's really great. Thank you, Linda. So I need to wrap up. I've really appreciated the conversation. It's been really...
That went fast, didn't it?
No, it does, doesn't it? There's so much more. I find that these conversations could go on for hours, actually. But
oh, I know.
We keep them short. So if anybody wants to get hold of you, find out a bit more about what you do, where would they find you?
Well, I have a website, lindafordcoaching.com. So you can find me there, and I'm on Facebook, Linda Ford Coaching, Linda Ford Coaching, on Facebook.
Easy to
I'd love to meet other writers. Yeah, definitely.
Lovely. Oh, that's really great. Thank you so much, Linda. I really appreciated the
Well,
conversation.
thank you, Maria, for doing this wonderful series, and really appreciate it. Thank you, and thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank you.